Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I've got a video here from Alex in Great Britain, and it is the top 10 prettiest towns in South Yorkshire. So I am really excited for this one. I think these are going to be fantastic. I think we've looked at a couple videos from him, and from what I can remember, he always puts out some really excellent content. He does a couple of these sort of prettiest towns in different areas of the UK. So, if you guys enjoy this one, maybe we can take a look at another one if he allows us to use them. But I will, of course, link this video in the description so you guys can check it out yourself, as well as any of his other content. If you haven't already seen it, if you're not already subscribed, you should go jump over there and do so. But let's go ahead and jump into
it. In the south of the north, as it were, is South Yorkshire, one of 4 counties comprising the wider historic county of Yorkshire. But God's own country, as it's affectionately known, is so packed with visual delights that they had to split it into 3, and then into 4 in 1974. So what are the prettiest towns in this southernmost county of the White Rose? To establish this, I visited them all personally, and my conclusions are presented to you in this top 10 list. As per the rules of this series of videos, villages are not included for consideration, but cities are, which may become a plot element later.
What is that tower?
For now, let's get straight to it. Number 10. Getting us started in suitably Yorkshire fashion is the birthplace of Barry Hines, author of A Kestrel for a Knave, perhaps better known for its film adaptation, Kes. Hoyland. If you're a fan of unusual British town names, this video has some cracking entries coming up in that regard. Hoyland's name means, well, high land in Old Norse, and in Brummie dialect as well, and it lives up to its name, what with the town centre being situated partway up a hill, lending to some fetching views. Particularly so around the peak where the parish church is situated, as is this 18th century folly overlooking a valley separating the town from Barnsley. Some claim you can see all the way to York Minster from here on a clear day.
Beautiful.
I wouldn't go that far myself, but either way, it is a nice spot for birds and humans alike. Come on, Kes. Number 9. Now to a former spa resort once tipped to rival Harrogate, Askern. It was this very lake that grabbed the attention of Georgian speculators in the late 18th century, who saw its sulphur-rich mineral springs as an opportunity to transform it into a thriving spa town. Ultimately, though, another industry caused it to pivot in time.
Do you all still have, active, sort of spas or resorts? I know, there used to be quite a bit in different places in the United States, and a couple of them still exist, or they've morphed into, I don't know. Sadly, and I'm sure it's kind of a little bit that way there, probably not to the extent that it is here, but it seems like you have all these really fantastic, privately owned old hotels, resorts, inns, and now it seems like most of them have been bought out by larger Wyndham and Hilton and stuff like that. But I think there's still a couple maybe that exist.
This odd juxtaposition was unsustainable. Perhaps as visitors seeking a cure for their rheumatism may have been put off by bellowing pits throwing up plumes of smoke. The town of today bears the ghost of 2 industries then, or should I say spirit, since the lake still gives a serene vibe that's a far cry from the hustle and bustle of nearby Doncaster. But what's that you say? You'd like to see some prettier South Yorkshire towns? Well, Askern you shall receive.
Love the little stone buildings, the shops.
Number 8. Next is the town whose name is said to mean well in the hollow in Old English, Wombwell. A scattering of fine Victorian stone buildings speaks to this town's rapid 19th century growth, fueled so
a little bit of this reminds me of a few of the towns around Pennsylvania, to be honest with you. There's a lot of this old stone in this kind of style um, that exists. My experience is kind of around Pittsburgh in that area. I don't know if it extends throughout the state or like to Philly or anything like that, but there's definitely areas of Pittsburgh that remind me a little bit of this. I see a lot when I'm watching these videos. I see a lot of things that remind me of that area, to be honest with you.
So to
I'm
speak, by the coal.
I'm trying to keep track of these city names so that maybe we could do a deeper dive into some of them and some of the buildings.
Mining industry. Mind you, the same can be said for many towns in South Yorkshire which had all the necessary ingredients: coalfields, customers in the form of Sheffield and Scunthorpe for the purpose of melting steel in the foundries, and a series of rivers and canals in which to transport the black stuff in those respective directions. The factors behind the death of domestic coal mining and the slow strangulation of British steel go beyond the scope of a video about nice-looking towns, but the context accounts for much of what we see in the Wombwell of today, and indeed other towns in the county, as they've adapted to 21st century life. Number 7. To the northeastern corner of this metropolitan county now, and a town with a rather prickly name, Thorne.
Okay.
With a parish church dating all the way back to the 12th century, this might appear to be a medieval market town, but that's not strictly true. Not to bog you down with details, but Thorne was, well, bogged down up until the 17th century. The illustrious Dutch engineer Cornelius Vermuyden was recruited by Charles I to drain Hatfield Chase, transforming this land into a more inhabitable area. Duly, a market charter was granted to Thorne in 1658 by the Protectorate government, that being the folks responsible for relieving Charles I of his head of state duties in the most literal way possible. Perhaps the most unusual aspect of this small town, though, is that it boasts not one but 2 railway stations. That's one more station than Leeds city centre, and just outside one of them is this peaceful fishing spot where you can unwind and ponder life's mysteries, like what is the prettiest town in South Yorkshire, and when's Alex going to sharpen up his puns? Well, stay tuned and one of those 2 questions will be answered.
It would be a great spot to have a picnic.
And now a steel town on the outskirts of the steel city, Stocksbridge. If someone were to put you on the spot and ask you where the name Stocksbridge comes from, you might be tempted to make up a cock and bull story along the lines of, well, there was this guy, right, called John Stocks, who built a bridge here so the locals could get to work by crossing Stocksbridge. Well, there's just one thing. That is exactly what happened. It was in 1716 when Mr. Stocks built his footbridge for his fulling mill workers, and in 1772 it appeared as an annotation on a map and ultimately became the name of the town itself. The fulling mill was superseded by a cotton mill, which in turn was replaced by
Samuel Fox?
a wire drawing mill, which went on to revolutionise umbrella design, courtesy of Samuel Fox and his Paragon umbrella frame. Ever since then, what little rain has made it over the nearby Pennines from the Irish Sea has been deftly deflected by these revolutionary brollies, leaving the locals free to explore the natural scenery, nestled as this town is between the Peak District and the ridge shown here,
gorgeous footage,
Bank, without getting drenched. Number 5. Next we head to the King's Stronghold, as per its name in Old English, Conisbrough. Just as you were beginning to think South Yorkshire, a construct of 1970s border tinkering correlating with heavy industry, is lacking in history, along comes Conisbrough to turn that perception on its head. First off, the parish church of St. Peter goes back to the 8th century in origin, albeit remodelled by the Normans.
Look how old those headstones are. Those are gorgeous. I love walking around cemeteries. I know it kind of like freaks some people out, but I just think I love looking at the old headstones and reading them, and I enjoy it.
And that's the same folks who decided that this would be a good spot for a castle. Its first owners
Wow.
were the Warren family, whose blue and yellow checks are well known across much of southeast England to this day. This was quite possibly a symbolic acquisition, given who the previous owner of the manor was here,
Did we look at
Harold
this
Godwinson.
castle?
Despite falling into ruin by the Tudor period, it clearly left an impression on Walter Scott, who featured it in his 1819 classic novel Ivanhoe, based on 12th century England and the lingering tensions between the Normans and those of Saxon descent, which, come to think of it, could be considered an allegory for Conisbrough itself. Number 4. Back to the former marshlands of Hatfield Chase and to the namesake town of, well, Hatfield. Any doubts regarding the history of this town can be put to bed in an instant with the presence of the parish church of St Lawrence dating from the 12th century, and at that, a church familiar to Geoffrey Chaucer, who stayed in the town for a few years. The surrounding architecture appears not to be typical of that of a mining town, but then Hatfield Colliery was an early 20th century addition.
I noticed he's brought up mining a couple of times. I guess was this like South Yorkshire, like a big mining district? It seems like I love these buildings. You guys know I love these roofs
To
too.
the area, as it was to the neighbouring town of Stainforth. As one of the very
Ah,
last holdouts of the mining industry, it wasn't until
I love the Tudor
2015 when Hatfield
buildings.
Colliery finally ceased operations. And yet, the town of today remains as characterful and historic as ever, as a true testament to one commodity here that does remain in constant supply: Yorkshire grit. Number 3. To the Great North Road now, and historically the very gateway to Yorkshire itself, Bawtry. This town's name is speculated to mean ball-shaped tree in Old English, which doesn't carry the same gravitas as, say, the King's Stronghold, as per our number 5 entry, but it did provide Georgian explorers with their first
All these
impression
narrow
of the county of the
streets. I
White
would hate to
Rose,
drive it, but they're
situated as it
pretty.
is on the border with Nottinghamshire. Further to that, it has all the hallmarks of the era of Hanoverian kings, with a wide high street designed to accommodate both the market and stagecoaches, and of course coaching inns for a rest and a change of horses. In fact, a visit to Bawtry feels just like travelling 200 years back in time, apart from one obvious immersion-breaking flaw, that is. Although the Great North Road's modern counterpart, the A1, gives the town a wide enough berth, the traffic flows through at volume nevertheless, making Bawtry to South Yorkshire what Moreton in Marsh is to the Cotswolds, which is to say, stunning buildings, bit of a traffic issue. Number 2. Switching to the opposite end of the county, we
Where's
find
the
ourselves
that
in Penistone.
is it showing the same church several times? Because I feel like I've seen it in several of these cities now.
Now, you might expect me to
Maybe
fill
they're
this
just
entry with
similar.
crude puns, but that's not my style at all. I mean, come on, what kind of a dick do you take me for? But no, there's absolutely nothing risible about the name Penistone, so let's instead focus on the visual merits that have garnered it the runner-up spot. For starters, it's impossible
Look at
to reach here without
those.
passing through some breathtaking scenery,
Hallmark.
courtesy of its location amidst the moors and pastures of the South Pennine Fringe. And it's the nearby quarries that have provided the town with the
Fish and
material for
chips.
its distinctive sandstone buildings, serving as an additional reminder of its proximity to the Peak District, not to mention its position at
I
the heart
love
of the
those
Trans-Pennine
buildings.
Trail, that being the
These
coast-to-coast path across northern England via foot, bike or horse, a slower
beer
but more
shop.
peaceful alternative to the M62, if you will. Before I reveal the top spot, I'd like to give an honourable mention to Doncaster.
This looks like a bigger
Now, hear me out. Amidst
area.
the small towns and villages of South Yorkshire is a quartet of larger settlements: Sheffield, Barnsley, Rotherham, and this town,
It's
Or should I say
gorgeous.
city, since
I
our
might
late
have to
queen
look into this
upgraded it
one.
accordingly as one of her final acts. But why am I singling it out, you ask?
This style reminds me of a lot of buildings in Huntington, West Virginia, where I'm from. Uh, there's like an old newspaper building, old banks, libraries that are all very much in that style.
2 words, Doncaster Minster. Although the honorific
There's
Minster
a
title was
church
only added in
that
2004,
looks very
in
similar
other
to that
words,
one.
this was, and still is, a plain
It's
old parish
gorgeous.
church.
It's very gothic.
But here's the truly mind-blowing part. If you were to guess, how long would you say this took to build? 2, 3 centuries perhaps? Nope. 4 years. 1854 to 1858.
How?
I tell you, those Victorians did not mess about. But what about the rest, you ask? Well, if I have one message to Doncaster Council, it's this. You are the custodians of a city with an incredible heritage, and I'd love nothing more than for it to become one of the great cities of the future. But, how do I put this? You're probably okay for barbershops for now. Just the saying. Number 1. For our winning spot, we return to the border with Nottinghamshire, this time to Tickhill. Here we have another town of great importance to the Normans who built a castle here, and one whose ruins can be explored freely today, under one small condition. It must be the second Sunday of June, between 2 and 4:30 p.m. But if your diary doesn't allow for this, the good news is the town itself is a museum.
Why is that?
Figuratively speaking, that is. The perpendicular Gothic masterpiece that is St Mary's Church is surely in the same league as nearby Doncaster Minster, and between the two, these make up a fair bit for South Yorkshire's lack of ancient cathedrals. Then there's Mill Dam, once the reservoir that powered Tickhill Mill, the sole survivor of 4 watermills that ground grain here from as early as the 13th century, and in the midst of this peaceful spot enjoyed by humans and waterfowl
Also, have
alike,
some really pretty
add in
little
over 100
parks.
listed buildings to the mix in this town of around 5,000 residents, and you have yourself a winner, at least as far as this overture to the 4-part epic that is Yorkshire is concerned.
Chippy?
As usual, do by all means let me know your thoughts in the comments below, whether you agree or disagree with my picks. And if you'd like to catch up with other counties covered in this series so far, check out the link on the screen now. Thanks for watching.
Great video from Alex. He gets like just some really fantastic footage walking around or driving, however he does it. And of course, I love the history that he gives as well. And he's got a little bit of that. Well, he definitely has that British dry humor that I enjoy from you guys. Yeah, there was some gorgeous places. I might have to look more into that Doncaster caster that he mentioned on there. Because that was gorgeous. And yeah, that was gorgeous. I wouldn't mind taking a look at that. But if any of you guys know of like specific things in any of these little towns or villages or city, whatever they are, you guys are really kind of particular about how you label those. We're not here at all. Just any interchangeable word. But yeah, let me know in the comments, and maybe we can take like I said, a deeper dive into some of these, because all of them were gorgeous. I enjoyed them all a lot, and like I said, I'll link this video in the description if you guys want to check it out yourself or go back and watch it, the original, because you don't want to hear me talk over it. But yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. I hope that you guys did as well. Also, if you saw any really excellent, I mean, I saw a bunch of churches. But if there's any in particular that you guys are like, hey, you need to look at this one in depth and see the inside or learn the history of it, let me know again in the comments and I'll take a look. But I appreciate you guys watching with me. Do you agree with his countdown? Do you think that a different one should have been number one? Let me know. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Have an awesome day, guys.